Hey, what's up guys? TV back here again. Another video. Yes, 2 videos in a row now. Just thought that I'd go over the new update that is coming out, Raid 3.0. Hopefully within the next few weeks. Hopefully it's not delayed. Just thought I'd go over it and give you my thoughts and opinions as a more endgame player. Yeah, let's get onto it. So, Doom Tower. The long-awaited Doom Tower is almost ready to go live, and these update highlights will include a thorough explanation of the feature. Additionally, we'll showcase new champions, both the ones you can win in Doom Tower and the ones we will release for the coming holidays, probably the fusion, and the updates, some, hang on, and the updates some underperforming artifact sets went through. Sounds interesting? Then read on. Doom Tower. Basics. The Doom Tower is a new game mode that will feature 132 stages, 108 common floors, 12 boss floors, 12 secret floors for you to fight through. It will be available in normal and hard difficulties, both of which will be repeatable. Doom Tower resets every 30 days, erasing your progress, rankings, and rotating some of the bosses. So, I'm glad there's more than one difficulty. A lot of stages. The rewards here for normal mode. I'm hoping hard mode's a lot better than this, because it's a bit, I don't know. Alright, golden keys and silver keys will be added to the game when the Doom Tower goes live. Golden keys will be required to access a floor for the first time, while silver keys will let you access secret rooms or replay boss floors you have previously completed. In both cases, the key will be subtracted from your total if you successfully complete the floor or secret room. Okay, I'm glad they're finally doing that whole thing where you don't do stuff unless you successfully do it. But gold keys and silver keys, 10 and 10. I mean, if it resets every 30 days, sure. It's not terrible, it's not the best. I mean, kind of expected some sort of energy thing, so that's what we got. Doom Tower floors follow a classic scheme. Your champions fight through 3 rounds of enemies, while every 10th floor will feature a boss fight. These bosses will be different and their power will scale from difficulty you've chosen and your progress. The boss on floor 110 will be much tougher than the boss on floor 10. Yep. Secret rooms will pose an additional challenge as they require specific conditions to complete, such as using champions of a specific rarity, faction, or type. Yep, I'm pretty sure some of those were leaked, potentially leaked, not 100% sure on these. Release a video guide a few days before the update and give you all the unique insight on Doom Tower bosses, their strengths and weaknesses, and provide some advice on fighting them. Okay, I'm glad they're doing videos on it, but they sometimes get things really wrong. Like a few of the videos, there's a few things wrong in there, so I'm hoping they don't screw us up on this. Okay, now we're onto the rewards. Now, onto the rewards, literally what I said. Completing a floor for the first time will earn you a set reward that cannot be farmed again before the Doom Tower is reset. Being boss floors will reward you with materials for the artifact forge, and each boss will reward materials for a specific set. Here are the sets. I really like the artwork for this. Though the helmet kind of looks like a chess piece, not gonna lie, but apart from that I really like it. Fatal, obtained from Kuldath of the Magma Dragon. It's a wyvern, by the way. If it's this, it's literally a wyvern. Shaken might blur him. 2 artifacts per set, 50% attack and 5% crit rate. Literally just a better offense, but a worse cruel in my opinion. I mean, sure, 5% crit, 15% attack, I mean, what could go wrong? Kinda looks like the Eye of Sauron on there. Yes, alright. We got Untouchable, obtained from Borgoth, the Scarab King. I think of a Destiny 1 and 2 boss right there with that name. It's 4 artifacts per set, 40% res, and immunity for 2 turns. That is really, really good. Because 1, immunity, amazing. But 2, if you're a slower team, put this on, they can't strip you of buffs and put debuffs on you if you have the high res to counter it on top of that. It's literally just a better immunity set. The artwork, I mean, it looks cool, but I don't know, I'm not a massive fan of it. We go into Affinity Breaker. I hate the spiderweb looking things. It just doesn't It just looks like, I don't know, saliva. It's kind of gross looking, but I like the artifacts itself. Infinity Breaker, obtained from Argeth the Nether Spider. Oh, Minecraft, huh? 4 artifacts per set, 30% crit damage, and 20% chance to deal a critical hit instead of a weak hit. Now this for a full set, 30% crit damage, it's average, it's okay. It's like not as good as a 2 crit damage set, but what makes it pretty darn good is a 20% chance to deal a critical hit instead of a weak hit. Now that is, it's RNG, this game is all RNG, but it's like, this procs, it's really good. So yeah, if I had to rate these so far, I'd give this like a 6, maybe a 7, a 6.5. I'd give this a 9, maybe like an 8.5 to 9. I'd give this about a 6.5, closer to a 7. We go to this set here, which is the last set. Frostbite, obtained from Sorath the Frost Spider. So another spider. 2 artifacts per set this time. 15% chance to resist freeze. Has a 10% chance to place a freeze debuff on the attacker. Chances increase to 30/45% and 20/30% respectively, with more artifacts from the set being equipped. So this set, right off the bat, I'm gonna say it's 1 set bonus, it's like a 6. 2 set bonuses, it's like a 8. And if you have all the set bonuses, I'm gonna give like a 9. Because, let's have a look here. 45% chance to resist a freeze. That's not like resist stat. That's just straight up resist it. So you have resist on top of that, boom, freeze gone. And then a 30% chance when you're wearing the full set to freeze someone. So it's basically a better frost set. You can have this set on top of a frost set. It's pretty insane in my opinion. Yeah, it's straight like 9, almost a 9.5 in my opinion. Yeah, good sets, I like these. This one is probably the weakest link, because you know it's worse than Cruel in my opinion. But yeah, now we go on to the next part. In addition to artifact materials, you'll be able to win champion fragments by completing secret rooms. Remember, you can only get this reward once per cycle. The fragments will refresh once the tower resets, so be sure to complete as many secret rooms as possible. So I've seen some people get confused on this. The fragments you collect stay. They do not disappear, which is good. But some people think like once the cycle resets, the fragments you collected, gone. That's not the case. Here we go. I'm guessing this is one of them. Thea, the Tomb Angel. Now this was leaked a long time ago, but let's go over anyway. Legendary, forced attack from Night Revenant. A basic, attacks 2 times at random, 75% chance of placing a hex debuff for 5 turns. 5 turns! Each critical hit decreases the cooldown of the Not of This World skill by 1 turn. When you're center, the hex can't be resisted. Okay. That's pretty insane hex. If it's... It depends what it is. If it's the one from Minotaur, it's insane. But if it's not from Minotaur, then I have no idea. But if it's straight broken, if it's from Minotaur one, like 100% extra damage straight up, crazy. Attacks all enemies. Damage increases by 50% for each hex debuff on the enemy team. Stacks up to 300%. Removes a hex debuffs on each enemy after attacking. So, for this not to be straight up broken, the multipliers on this skill have to be super low. Like let's say a champion has a 4.0 attack multiplier on average. This is probably like a 2 or 1.5. So either this is completely broken or it's like has to be a lot of hexes for it to be really good. Look at the third skill. Places a veil buff on the champion for 3 turns. Grants an extra turn. That's straight up good. No issues with that. We got a passive here. 50% chance of placing a true fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn when an enemy loses 30% or more of their max HP in a single hit. If this isn't booked, then it's pretty RNG, but if you can book this higher, it is straight broken. Everyone knows True Fear ain't 50%. But yeah, she seems insane, to be honest. If I had to rate her based off just the skills, without testing her, without the base stats, probably give her like an 8. 8 out of 10. Maybe an 8.5 out of 10. It's just, I'm guessing this doesn't do crazy damage unless all of it's on there. Yeah, it's pretty insane. Then we have Gomlok Skyhide, a legendary force support from the Orcs. Attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns. Has a 50% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns on 2 random enemies if the champion has full HP. Pretty meh A1 for legendary, to be honest. You got attacks one enemy, 60% chance of stealing 2 random buffs from the target. Also has a 60% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 50%. Steals 50% of the target's turn meter instead if this champion has full HP. So the 2 random buffs from one target is kind of meh. What makes it pretty good is the second part where she can steal 50% of the target's turn meter if she has full HP. So it's 60% chance. Hopefully that's booked to 100%. If that's like a 75% chance book, again, it's pretty meh. On to the next two. Attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. The first hit on each target also has a 75% chance of decreasing target's turn meter by 10%. The second hit on each target also has a 75% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns. If this champion has full HP, 6 turn cooldown. Can't even see what that is. I mean, if you can book this 100%, that's really, really good. Really good. Then you have her passive. I'm guessing it's her base of that. Maybe it's him, I don't know. Whenever 4 or more buffs are placed on the enemy team in a single turn, place a shield buff on this champion for equal to 50% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. That's a pretty trash passive in my opinion. The only good skill really is this. And if this can be booked to more than 60%, this part right here. If these can't be booked to higher percent, then she's like just another kind of bad support orc champion that we already have a bunch of. But like, if you can book these to 100%, probably give her like 7.5 out of 10. If you can't book to 100%, for like a 4. I don't know. Has potential. And then we've got Eros, the Soul Cage, which was supposed to be in the Battle Pass 2. Huh. She's a Void, legendary HP Demon Spawn. His base stats and his multipliers are apparently broken. Let's say change it. First skill here. Attacks one enemy. Places a shield buff on the champion equal to 10% of this champion's max HP. Shield's value increases by 1% for each poison debuff on the target. So that A1 is insane. That's insane right there for an A1. He's a Void, so what do you expect? But yeah, it's pretty insane. A2. Attacks all enemies. Has a 75% chance of decreasing the turn meters by 50% of enemies under 1 or more poison debuffs. Also has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns on enemies under 2 or more poison debuffs. Has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 3 or more poison debuffs. Instantly activates the skill when this champion is revived by Elemental Conjurer. Again, A2. I'm guessing you book it to 100%. Says he's a Void. It's pretty good. It probably hurts a lot too. It's an AoE. Yeah, it's pretty good, solid. We got Soul Bounty. Places a 25% strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns, and a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. So again, ally protection, insane. 25% strengthen is absolutely insane with ally protection. It's like if you add defense on top of that, you ain't taking any damage, like straight up. No damage. Now you have a passive that is a straight novel. It's also got a pretty good aura here. When attacked, 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff on the attack for 2 turns. Now, if an ally is attacked while under a strengthened buff, Has a 50% chance of placing a provoked debuff on the attacker for one turn. Increases the champion's max HP by 5% whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff placed by this champion. Whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff placed by this champion, also decreases their max HP by 5%. Cannot decrease a single target's max HP by more than 25% in one battle. Will not decrease boss's max HP, normal. Cannot increase the champion's max HP by more than 50%. This is stupid. This is insane. He is like ultimate tank man. He is like a straight 9. Straight 9. Especially if this can be booked. Oof. I really want him. Though I get he's void, so he's probably like 3 times harder to get. Alright. Okay, there's an update here. This champion, Eros Soul Cage, will be in Undead Hordes. That makes more sense. He was originally in Demon Spawn, and he looked kind of out of place because the whole place is red with fire, and he's like a green blob. Yeah, that makes more sense. Alright, Raw Archmage. Okay, so all these guys are literally from the Battle Pass. These here, these two, and I think this one too. Alright, Raw Archmage, Epic, Magic Affinity, Support, and Bannerlords. Attacks 1 enemies. Fills this champion's turn meter by 10%. Fills the turn meter by 20% if this attack is critical. I mean, it's going to be built fast, so it's a pretty good A1 there. Attacks 1 enemy. Also attacks all other enemies if the first attack is critical. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. After attacking, decreases the turn meters of each enemy without a stun debuff of 20%. Okay, so for an epic, he's insane, and for support, you can build it for crit and crit damage and speed. It's pretty good there. Then we got to places a 30% increased speed buff, 30% increased crit rate buff, and a 30% increased crit damage buff on all last 2 turns. Dude, this guy may as well be a legendary. Like, come on. That skill's also pretty darn insane. You get the good speed buff, you get the crit rate buff, so you don't need to build 100% crit rate, and more crit damage. And that crit damage buff does a lot. Alright. Then we have his passive, immune to turn meter decreasing effects. That's insane. So he can cut through, like Valkyries are gone, decreased turn meter people are gone if you put him in there. This for an epic support is nuts. I'm gonna 6-star him straight away, like, definitely 100%. Now his aura is 17% in all battles. That's his weakest link. But if I had to rate him for an epic, he's like a 9.5. The only thing that lets me down is the aura. 9.5. Crazy. Now we have Inferno Golem. Oh, his name would be Archmage Helmet. Okay. Inferno Golem. Now I've seen this guy in like the full picture. I really want him just because he looks cool. He's a Epic Magic Affinity Defense Champion in Demon Spawn. Attacks 1 enemy. 50% chance of placing a 30% decreased crit rate debuff for 2 turns. I mean, RNG like a 30%. They've now got 70% crit rate. For an A1, that's okay, but RNG to be honest. Now you've got attacks all enemies. 20% chance of placing HP burn debuff for 2 turns. The chance of placing the debuff increases by 20% for each enemy alive. So you have 4 enemies alive. That's 100% basically. So in arena, 100% if you use them in arena. It's HP burn. I don't know, maybe some synergy here. But yeah, I mean, not the best, not the worst. It's good for dungeon and spider. Spider, it's like a 1,000,000,000% chance. Alright. Attacks all enemies. 50% chance of increasing the cooldowns of all skills by 2 turns on enemies in a HP burn. Okay. Also places a shield buff equal to 20% of this champion's max HP in all lives for 2 turns. This could potentially be some insane synergy with other HP burning champions. It also instantly activates the skill when this champion is revived by Elemental Conjurer. So what you could do is make him really high crit damage, like good defense but not enough to be like 7 billion defense. What you do is you get him, like he goes, he dies, gets revived, does the skill again, potential like massive wipeout right there. And his name will be Archos the Seared instead of Inferno Golem. Okay. Cool. Now we got Elemental Conjurer. A Force Epic supported Dark Elves. Now attacks one enemy. 50% chance of placing a block buff, so debuff for 2 turns. I mean, A1 is pretty basic, but A1, what do you want really? Also, I forgot to rate this guy. I'd probably give him like a 7, a 6, 6.5 out of 10. I mean, kind of weak here. Yeah. Wait, did I not even... Hang on. My bad, guys. I didn't go over this guy's passive. I'm Pepega, and I apologize. Has a 10% chance of placing a fear debuff on an enemy for 1 turn whenever they receive damage from a HP burn debuff placed on themselves. Maybe that's why I didn't read over the passive, because it's pretty trash. 10%. It's only going to be booked to like 40%, maybe, if we're lucky. That's why I didn't read over it. It's pretty trash. And then okay HP aura in all battles. Anyway, back onto this. So Epic Force support Dark Elves. Attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing block buffs. I mean, not crazy, not terrible, average. And then has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies. Also has a 75% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff on early 50 turns. Okay, if this can be booked to 100% chance, it's basically a Madame, but with a weaken. Okay, I'm hearing it's pretty good. Revives a dead ally with 50% HP, then fills the turn meter by 50%. Will then also place the block debuffs on them for 2 turns. Will also revive Inferno Golem and Eros Soul Cage with 30% HP if they are on the same team and not the target of the skill. Will then also fill the turn meter by 30% after reviving. If either Inferno Golem or the Soul Cage are the target of the skill, that champion will revive with 50% HP, 50% turn meter, and a block debuff buff for 2 turns. This is dumb. Here's what I'm thinking. Tanky as all hell? No, built for pure damage. Pure damage, okay? Everyone pure damage. On the arena team you have Eros, Inferno Golem, Elemental Conjurer, and what's her name? What's her name? One second, let me have a look. My bad, guys. Cardinal. Yeah, Cardinal. Cardinal. So what happens is, everyone dies by Cardinal. Cardinal revives. Then Elemental goes. Revives them. No, because then she... Okay, scrap that. I'm just thinking of synergies here. I'll probably have to test it out myself to like fully understand it probably. Like deep dive into it. But if you have the... By herself, by himself, by herself, I'd probably give them like an 8. No, I'd give them a 7 by themselves. But if you have Inferno Golem and Eros, a 9, because this is insane. Also, 40% accuracy in all battles. It's pretty bigger. Alright. Update. After this patch release, the name of this champion will be Rian the Conjurer. So don't change the name of like everyone. Okay. Every player who completed floor 10 will get a placement in Doom Tower rankings. These are separated into the following categories: Global and Clan. Okay, that's pretty poggy. The rankings are further divided by difficulty, normal or hard. Completing Doom Tower floors will reward ranking points and increase your standing, much like what you see in tournaments. Doom Tower resets. The game will display a pop-up with the current rankings to highlight the most successful players. What if like 100 people complete it? Who gets what ranking? Is it first to complete it gets first rank? That'd be interesting to see how that works. Alright, new champions. So what was this? These not new champions? Hello? Alright. So apparently one of these is the fusion. Apparently she's the fusion. Sorry about that, guys. I just had to edit out a lot of the video because someone decided to mow like right outside my window and I've been asleep since then. So it's a whole new day. But continuing on, we got Pix Neil here. I think that's how you say the name. Legendary magic support in the High Elves. Attacks one enemy. 30% chance of placing a Veil buff on a random ally for 1 turn. Cannot place the Veil buff on this champion. I mean, book this to like at least 80% would be pretty good. Apart from that, it's kind of random. Can't put it on her. So it's like, just A1, I guess. It places 60% increased defense buff and 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. Then attacks all enemies under freeze debuffs. Places a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns on all enemies under freeze debuffs. I like the increased defense and the continuous heal. This has quite a bit of synergy potential. A lot of synergy potential right here, but it's a 5-turn cooldown. Hopefully book that to 3 turns. Yeah, that's pretty good A2. You have attacks 5 times at random. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Has a 100% chance of placing freeze debuff on enemies that have received 2 hits. Ooh. So I'm guessing as we book to 4 or 3 turns. And this will be like a 50% chance booked, probably. This is 5 times at random. In arena is a really high, was guaranteed actually, that someone gets hit twice. Almost guaranteed. Yeah, it is guaranteed, what am I saying? Yeah. It gets worse and worse the more enemies there are, so like Spider, there's no point using it. There's certain areas that can be really, really good. We have, this is a passive, whenever an enemy places a freeze debuff on an ally, has a 20% chance of stealing the freeze debuff and placing it on this champion instead. Ooh, that could be really crucial. 25% chance of filling this champion's turn meter by 25% every time they receive a freeze debuff. It's just going to get frozen again. Has a 35% chance of removing any freeze debuffs from this champion at the start of every turn. Okay. If there are multiple champions in the team with the skill, only one will activate. So this could potentially be really good as well. And then 80 res in all battles. Probably only really used for arena. As a fusion, as a Christmas fusion, she's not as good as Torment, obviously, not as good as Sir Nicholas, but as a legendary, I'd say she's pretty darn good. Give her a score of like a 7.5. It could be an 8 depending on how the books go on this champion. Onto Icarl of the Scourge. Avoid legendary, attack barbarian. There's a chance this could be the fusion too, because every fusion for Christmas so far has been void. This might be the fusion. Alright. Attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 20% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Will ignore shield buffs if there are 1 or more enemies under freeze debuffs. Will also ignore block damage buff if there are 2 or more enemies under freeze debuffs. Will also ignore 30% of the target's defense if there are 3 or more enemies under freeze debuffs. That's an insane A1 right off the bat. That is insane. A lot of synergy there. Could do A1 could do so much damage. We got attacks 1 enemy. 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 3 turns, and a 75% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Probably booked to 100%. Also steals 100% of the target's turn meter and places a 30% increased speed buff on this champion for 3 turns. This is literally a better Grahak. Avoid Grahak. But not for real. This is 100% chance. This is insane. Attacks 1 enemy 3 times. If the target is under a freeze debuff, removes the debuff after attacking and places it on all enemies except the initial target. Will also attack all enemies except the initial target after the 3rd hit. Jeez, so this guy's like a powerhouse, man. Do this skill and then this skill. Oof, that's crazy. We got a passive. Decrease the damage this champion receives by 10% and increases the damage this champion inflicts by 10% if there are 1 or more enemies under freeze debuffs. Increases champion speed by 15 and res by 50 if there are 2 more enemies under freeze debuffs. Yeah, this guy's insane. Active effect. Places an unkillable on the champion for 2 turns whenever there are 3 enemies under freeze debuffs. And increases ally attack in the Doom Tower by 43%. Oh, that's a lot of attack. Yo, this guy's a straight 9.5 out of 10. Potentially a 10 if we can use him. If he's a fusion, he's a 10 out of 10, honestly. That's insane kit. I really want this guy already. Alright, now we have the epics. Attacks one enemy. Oh, sorry. He's epic. Force support in the demon spawn. He looks like one of those crabs in the ocean with that. I don't know. He's gonna have such a weird model, I feel, in game. Attacks one enemy. 30% chance of decreasing the duration of one random buff if the target is under a HP burn debuff. Also has a 30% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15% if they are under a freeze debuff. So this A1 is a lot of RNG, but because there's a lot of RNG, potential to be really, really good. We have places a block of debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn, and a 25% strength and buff on all allies for 2 turns. That's really good. That's really, really good for an epic. Attacks all enemies. 70% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn on enemies whose attack is higher than their defense. Also 70% chance of placing a HP burn debuff for 1 turn on enemies whose defense is equal to or higher than their attack. So this is kind of useless, I feel, unless the skill right here is good. Or passive, sorry. But this is really good. The first part of the skill is really, really good, I feel. Look at his passive. Heals all allies by 5% of their max HP every time an enemy under HP burn debuff gets a turn. Yeah, that's not very good. Fills the turn meters of all allies by 10% every time an enemy under freeze debuff gets a turn. See, you want freeze, you don't want HP burn. HP burn's per bigger. And then we've got a 25% increased ally defense in all battles. So, mixed bag. I'd give like a 6, maybe a 7. I'd give him, no, give him a 6.5. He'd be higher if there wasn't so much RNG here. And these were, you should just cut off this, and he'd be really, really good. But, you know, it is what it is. We have the last one here, a Grunch Killjoy. Epic force support in Ogre Tribes. Attacks one enemy. 40% chance of placing a block buff debuff for 1 turn. Okay. Attacks all enemies. 50% chance of placing a bomb debuff that detonates for after 1 turn. Is that gonna be booked to 100%, which is definitely not easy an epic. That'd be insane. But probably book it to like a 70% chance. Yeah, he could be a really good bomb character, to be honest. You have it removes all debuffs from all allies. It then places 15% continuous heal buff for 1 turn on each ally for every debuff removed from them. So it's kind of like a Harkonnen Smash Lord, except they have to have a turn for it to heal them. That's really good for these two are really good for an epic, man. At the same time. Now you have a Madcap passive. Fills the turn meters of all allies by 10% whenever a bomb debuff detonates on an enemy. This has got some insane synergy. This is a really good epic. Now you have an increased ally defense and faction wars by 30%. This is insane. For an epic, he's like an 8 or 9 out of 10, depending on how you can book these. That's really, really good. And that is it for the champions. Now you have the artifact rebalance. What's that? We've updated 8 underperforming artifact sets to ensure you have more gearing options for your champions. No matter whether you're a new player making do with the limited champion collection or a veteran seeking new strategies to enhance your playstyle. The changes are as follows. Retaliation is now 30% chance to counterattack when hit instead of 25. I mean, it's pretty good now. I'll say it's pretty good. I mean, you can't really do anything else with it, but it's pretty good. Regeneration heals by 15% every turn now, up from 10. Still kind of useless in my opinion. It's better than well, in a certain way, Immortal is still better because you get 15% HP and 3% heal per set. And this is a full set. So I'd still go Immortal over this, easy. You have Toxic. 75% chance to place 2.5% poison debuff for 2 turns, up from 50%. They should have just made it 5% poison, honestly. It's a full set. Like, if it was a 2 set, then sure, 2.5% poison. You were a second set, it goes to a 5% poison. That's how I'd fix this. Otherwise, it's still like a really... This is like a really early game set, to be honest, unless you get stuck on Faction Wars bosses. But like, again, Faction Wars has been nerfed so bad. I don't know, kind of stupid in my opinion. We have a reflex. 40% chance to reduce a random skill cooldown by 1 turn, up from 30%. That's going to see a lot of use now. To be honest, 30% was already pretty good. 40% now? It's almost half the chance of to cool down the skill by 1 turn. It's pretty darn good. Yeah, that's a good change. Avenging. This set was already... You put this on the skull crown. Jeez. It's a 45% chance to counterattack when hit with a critical hit. Has no damage penalty. I didn't know it had no damage penalty, so you do 100% of damage. Because when you counterattack, it's usually a 75% damage, but this is the full 100% damage. Good to know. So yeah, 45% up from 30%. That is quite insane, to be honest. Those skull crowns are gonna destroy people's teams. Speaking of destroy, which interesting set names what it does. Decreases enemy max HP by 40% with damage dealt, up from 30%. So this set is kind of useless right now, though there is a Doom Tower boss that is going to need this set, or a lot of champions that decrease the max HP, or both at the same time. So yeah, this will actually get some use now in Doom Tower. It's not gonna do too much with the buff though, like it's still pretty useless outside of that. Then you have Cursed. 75% chance to place a 50% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns, up from 1 turn. And it's now 75% chance at 50. So I see this as an early game set. Now there could potentially be uses for the set on certain team comps in Arena now, but again, I see it as an early game set, so it's like, nothing's really changed. Now for curing, 20% bonus heal up from 10%. Now here's what I've been wondering, is this heal a multiplicative heal or an additive heal? So if someone heals 50% HP, will it now be 70%, or will it be 55% or 60%? I can't remember. Bad math. It's 2 in the morning. But yeah, if this is an additive, then it's really good buff. If it's multiplicative, still useless. We got miscellaneous. Christmas decorations, Return to the Bastion. Meet the holiday season in style. Many faction rule stages went through balance tweaks and should be easy to complete. This is already in effect. Faction rules is a joke now, honestly. Like, you can 2-man bosses now when you get to 5-man. It's just, they shouldn't have nerfed it this hard. Yeah, my overall opinions. Good, very good update. This has been needed for a long time. Doom Tower, new sets, and buffs to certain things is really good now. Overall, I'd probably rate this update a good 8.5 out of 10. What would make this higher is if they make this guy the Vision for Christmas. That'd add a whole like 1, so it'd be like a 9.5 or 9. And what would add more would be if they gave better buffs to these sets. Some of them are still completely useless. Yeah, apart from that, it's pretty good. Battle Pass 2 champions are now in the pool. Some of them anyway. The rares aren't shown here, interestingly. Anyway, that's it for this video. Sorry it's very delayed. I recently got a new editing software that I'm finally using, and I've had a lot of issues with stuff like that. I accidentally put a reverb on my first part of the video, and it took me like half an hour to realize how to get it off, so I'm just learning a bunch of stuff. But yeah, hope you like the video. I should be having a new champion spotlight video within the next 2 days, and I should be streaming pretty soon. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, a long video. I'm not good at making long videos, as you'll probably tell. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Like it if you do, subscribe if you want, and I will see you in the next video. Adios.